Hey there, everybody. This is Travis Lima here from Paid Memberships Pro. I am super excited for this webinar episode because today I am being joined by Kim Shivler. Kim, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Travis. Excited to be here.
I think there has been a lot of anticipation specifically for this webinar episode because we've often had people asking a lot about courses and memberships and which is better and how do I do this and how do I do that. And with all of that kind of conversation that we often get, we thought that you would be the absolute quintessential guest to be speaking about this topic on the show. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's a topic that's dear to my heart, so I'm very excited to jump into it here.
Awesome. So for all of you folks who are not familiar with Kim, I've got this really awesome bio over here, and I'm going to read it out, and I'm going to try and make it look as natural as possible. But I felt that I just had to get a couple of points down so I nail all of the specifics of why Kim, or what makes Kim very special. Cool. So Kim has got a master's degree in education. She is a business and technology coach and instructor who focuses on helping small business owners create profitable programs. Anyone interested? For the last 30 years, she's worked in a variety of roles, including teaching, technology, business and soft skills, instructional design for online and in-person training, writing, and project management in both the corporate world and as a business owner. She leverages this experience to help her clients and students increase profits, break through barriers, and achieve new goals. Now, when we're speaking about Kim in the WordPress community, she is known for teaching people to build online courses, including how to pick the right plugin for the project and how to build a quality curriculum. If you want to know more, we'll probably have some links for of how you can get in touch with Kim in a little while. But check out kimshivler.com or learn how to build an online course at howtobuildanonlinecourse.com. Kim, how did that sound? Did I miss anything?
I think you got it. Thank you. It sounded great. Sounded better than I think I do.
Fantastic. Cool. Okay, well, again, thank you so much for joining us. Kim, do you want to maybe, before we dive into the slides, do you want to give us like a little bit of an overview of what you're going to be talking about and what we can expect out of this webinar episode?
Absolutely. And I do have a slide that'll kind of cover some of that too, but just high level. Today, what we want to talk about is actually getting to the bottom of what is the best way to present the type of content we want to present. Because Travis, like you said, people are like, well, is an online course better? Is it a membership site? What do I want? And the best way to do that is for us to break down what those pieces actually mean and then look at the type of content we want to create and plug it into the right delivery system. And when we do that ahead of time, we don't make as many mistakes. So many times people jump in and they go, well, I just have to build this, and they build it, and then they find out it's not really doing what they needed. So I'm big on planning. That is probably the one thing that my clients and students I drive them crazy because they just want to jump in. But if we just spend that little time ahead of time to plan it, we're going to get the right layout for what we need. So that's kind of where we're going today.
Okay, I'm ready to go. That sounds amazing. If you are joining us over from YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, please go ahead and leave a comment. I see Jason Coleman says, hi, Kim. Hi, Travis. This is going to be good. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Jason. Nice to see you.
So during the stream, we will be taking questions. So if you have a question for Kim, please go ahead and drop it down in the comment section or the live chat of this video, and then we'll get those answered up for you. Kim, if you are ready, I can go ahead and share your screen and we can dive right in.
I am ready.
All righty, and your screen is on the webinar.
Perfect. So we're going to be talking about, should you build a membership site, an online course, or a combined platform? And as I said, it's all going to be about mapping the right content to the right delivery method. Now, I just will say one other thing. If you've seen me speak maybe at a WordCamp on how to build an online course, there's a little bit of overlap here, but not much. So you're in for something brand new today. And then I'll be pointing you, if you want more on the how to build an online course, we'll come back to that at the end. So just a quick shout out. This template comes from Slides Carnival with some images by Unsplash. We're working on a new template for me, but in the meantime, I love this one. Got to give them credit where credit is due. So as I mentioned, we'll be exploring what we want to build membership. And we're going to talk about, is it a membership site? Is it a learning management system? What are the differences? How are we going to match that content? Why, as I mentioned, it's important to plan ahead. And then a big push that I work with people on is how, if you integrate that LMS, if you're going to build a course and integrate it with membership levels, you can really give your audience a very upgraded experience. And I think for most of us, that's what we're all about.
I think you hit it on the head there.
Now, one thing again, planning ahead, before we jump into any of this, you want to look at the business use case. If you're just home with COVID and working remote and you want to do it as a hobby, that's fine. But most of my customers are businesses and they want to do this either as a specific product within their business, maybe to build their audience. But we want to start there. What is the business use case for your business? How do you expect this to help your business? What's it going to cost you in money, time, resources? Because all of these type of platforms take time and very often money. So what's that going to take? And what's your return on investment, your ROI? What are you planning for that? So when we start there, we can start looking at, as we're building, what priorities do we need to set, et cetera. Because if you don't have a business use case, this may not be the place to jump in. Do something where it makes sense for your business, and put this in a planning project for maybe in the future when you do have a business case to actually jump in and get this done. Because just as if you'll remember, when you built your website, there's a lot of steps to any of this. So we first talk about what is a membership website, because I think all of us get this stuff thrown around all the time. We hear about it. We're going to talk about two things today. There's a physical structure that's the membership site, and a concept, the concept of private member content. When we first look at the physical, this is where you look at plugins in the WordPress community, the plugin that you would use to build your membership site. We've got Paid Memberships Pro, MemberPress, Restrict Content Pro, and today is not where we're going into picking the right one. That's a whole nother planning discussion. Today's class is really on the concepts, because when we start with the concepts and understand those, then when we move to planning our structure, we are much better prepared to create the right structure for what we need. So on the concept standpoint, think of private content. A lot of times people think of content that's dripped out weekly or monthly or maybe even daily. I'm going to ask you to break out of that paradigm if that is yours, because it's not always dripped content. For example, I purchased an icon library and it wasn't dripped. It was all one piece, but I logged in. It was a private area. I could download whatever I needed. That is still a membership concept. Same with recurring billing. Right? A lot of people always think, oh, this is how, you got to bill $25 a month, et cetera. And that can be a great option for a membership site. But if you're selling something like a static library, it may not be recurring. So I want you to, if you've got thoughts already, let's break out of some of those. so that if we open up more possibilities, we're going to make sure that as we move forward, we can really plug these in the way that they're going to fit your business and your audience the best.
Sounds great.
So that's going to start us with our concepts around membership. I break membership down to one basic thing. Any site that provides private information and or interactions to its members. A lot of times what we see is, as opposed to an information site, that membership site might be where you do your ask me anythings or your office hours, where people can get private access to you as a coach or consultant or business owner. So it doesn't always have to be information, but it is private. It is premium content access. That is how I'm going to define membership for our audience. So I hope you'll all jump on that with me.
Kim, I just wanted to let you know that there's quite a couple of comments of people very thankful and appreciative of this particular topic. So as people are really, got your back with this topic, I think there's a lot of interest. So just wanted to share that because I know you can't see the comments coming in.
I can't, and thank you for that. So that's, our basic membership. Now let's move into looking at LMS and what that means. So LMS stands for Learning Management System. And an LMS is specifically designed to manage courses. So technically, if you think of my membership definition, having a private online course is a type of membership. But with an LMS, it's a very specific structure. It's going to provide course creation and delivery, the options for things like evaluation, whether that's through quizzes or homework, maybe gamification, which is that point system for passing a quiz or badges. Now you can do gamification with a regular membership site of general content. But we tend to see particularly the badge system go with, hey, we've finished these milestones in a course. And then very specific reporting as to what the students have accomplished, what they have passed, where they are in the system, maybe even where they're having trouble not passing quizzes. So your LMS has a lot more structure to it. And we're going to talk about that in terms of online courses too. You've got more in a course, you've got more specific course, you've got more structure. And I'm going to take all of us back to when we were in school, maybe we're still in school, because that's the best way to do an analogy of some of this and what is what and where it fits. So when we talk about structure again with the LMS, we're looking at our plugins. We might have WP Courseware or LearnDash, Lifter LMS. These are three of the very, very popular ones. Again, today, we're not actually going to define the how do I pick it. We can do that at a future. I do teach that, but that really needs to stand alone from what we're doing today. It's its own separate discussion. Today, we're dealing with the concepts. And the concepts are, why do you want an online course? We have the online course. The concept is we're going to teach it in a course format. And I put this picture here because so often people call me, they want an online course, and it has nothing to do with the course itself. It's because someone's told them on the internet that they need to have a course. Online courses seem to be just the chocolatey goodness and the road to money on the internet. And if it's the right answer to what you're doing, that can be true. If it's the wrong fit to what you're trying to do, it could be a big melted disaster. So that's why we're handling today, to make sure that we're doing and looking at what the right way to deliver it. So I want to ask you all a question. Is a formal course, an online course, or even a live course, the only form of teaching and learning? And I'm
Cool.
really
So
hoping you're screaming at the screen right now. Yes, Travis?
I was just going to say that, like, maybe we can get a couple of answers in. So if you feel that a course is the only form of teaching or learning, go ahead and drop us a comment down in the section of this video and let us know. Cool. Kim, if it comes up, I'll let you know.
So I'm going to throw out some reasons of why it doesn't take a course to a formal course for learning or for teaching. I've got a couple for you. First, I taught one of my best friends in school how to drive. I was a few months older than she was. Her mother gave up. So I taught her how to drive on these little tiny narrow neighborhood roads with no traffic as we drove around, hoping that we didn't hit any trees. And we didn't. We did fine. But that was by no means a formal course. It was the two of us working together on how you do it and then practicing it, because learning takes some practice, some mastery to get to mastery. Another one is very common that I use as an example is cooking. Many of us didn't take a course. Back when I was in school, we had home ec. I don't even know if they have that anymore. But we learned from our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts and our cousins, and it was a community event, but not necessarily a formal course, especially in the past. I think more people are enjoying cooking classes and things now, but it didn't have to be that. So as we look at that in the online world, any comments on in the online world without going to a formal course, a formal curriculum, how we might learn something that's still just as valuable?
Kim, we got a couple of no's that came in from Zach and Nigel to your question.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug elaborated a little bit more, and he said that it really depends on the audience and learner style. So a couple of answers coming in to that.
Excellent. It can absolutely depend on audience. It can depend on learner style. It can depend on where they are and what they want to learn. We're going to look at that coming up right here. So when I asked about, can you think about something online? Think about an online tutorial. Blog posts can sometimes be fabulous tutorials. They usually have a single objective, can have very, very detailed information. But as opposed to an online course, they frequently have less interaction or checking of work. They're probably not as apt to, for example, have formal homework or a set quiz. They may have interactions in the comments, people questioning and asking questions and commenting on it, but not as formal, keep thinking formal, as a course. So let's look at a couple of those type of tutorials. So back to my kitchen option. This is a tutorial on how to julienne. It's a style of cutting. She goes into depth on how to do it, but it's not a formal class, which maybe the formal class would be a class on explanation of different types of knife skills or cutting styles for cooking. I always try to give some explanations that aren't technical, because not all of us are developers. Some people are just wanting to do this and they're working with a developer. For those that are in the WordPress community or development, this is one that I personally had to look up this week. I'm switching to Gravity Forms from another form. WP Fusion is my absolute favorite plugin to connect my website with my CRM. And so I did a search on how to connect WP Fusion with Gravity Forms. I wasn't looking for a full course on WP Fusion, but I needed this. This was kind of like one of the things we talk about when we talk about tutorials like this is just-in-time learning. It's when you're trying to get something done and you just want something at your fingertips. And that's what I did. Still very in-depth here. All the information, but different than a complete course.
That makes sense. I have a bit of a question, and I think it comes down to that. And feel free to leave this till the end if it's going to veer off a little from the slides. But now, when someone creates a valuable piece of content like that blog tutorial style, you can potentially monetize that, but there's quite a few people who are doing it sort of out of the goodness of their heart. And I think that comes back to that chocolate heart picture that you had a little while ago, where it seems like sometimes there's two different kinds of camps. You can either be in the camp of, I want to do it because of making money, that's the primary motive for doing it, versus maybe someone who has a joy for teaching and adding value to people, and then having money as a sort of a secondary motive. So is there a difference mainly or in the types of mediums that one should consider if you want to develop something that isn't a formal online course in that way? I'm not sure if that makes sense or not.
It makes sense. And I will do the improv yes and. Yes, some people do this to make money, and some are giving it out for free. And a lot of times it's still a combination, correct? Now, this actual tutorial on Gravity Forms is from WP Fusion itself, but a lot of people provide free posts that then are potentially making money off of the affiliate links from that free post. Right? So sometimes what may be free actually still has a monetization strategy to it. And sometimes it's just pure free. And then sometimes it might be a post that we want to just share with our specific user group. So for many of us, I have blog posts that are free, and then I have detailed tutorials that are just for the people in that membership. I have a couple different memberships and just for the people there. All right. So let's look, for example, let's check one out on the Paid Memberships Pro site. We've got a blog here, and one of the ones here on additional membership levels is for your Plus account and higher, because that is special for your members. And it's all okay to have content for everyone and content for our members special. We see that a lot in podcasting with Patreon accounts, where podcasts are free. But then with the Patreon account, people pay and they get bonus content to be part of that tribe, of that group. So it's okay to have both. And I like to show this. I was actually going to show this one a little later, but it worked out perfect here. I like to show this because a lot of times when people think of the detailed type blog posts, they're not, they immediately go to that online course. They're not thinking that they can just have this other premium content that's arranged differently than a course, that's arranged maybe in categories the way regular blog posts are. Maybe it's on special pages. Maybe it's in download guides. But all of these are options. And we just want to look at what's going to fit our own content the best to do that. So as we look at a course then, and what it takes to do a course, an online course, just like going to school, it's more formal. You're going to need you have a final objective for what the students need to achieve. This is usually then broken down into a series of steps, additional learning objectives that lead to that final objective, that final level of mastery. Think of going to school. You have a class. There's an overall objective for the class. And yet every day or every week, however often you meet, there's a lesson plan and an objective for that day or that lesson, that meeting. So when we go online, we're really doing the same thing. And it's one of those things, there's a lot of, I think that's happened. There's been some confusion because a lot of people, they talk about throwing together an online course. And, I'll hear someone say, just put up 4 videos and call it a class. And that's not truly an online course. That's a small YouTube channel. So when we really want to talk about educational quality, we want to have different learning objectives. We want to have these type of steps that lead a student to mastery. They tend to be more sequential. Right? Normally, as you go through an online course, you have to mark off each one as complete. You're moving forward through it. It might have tasks that build upon each other. Think about math classes. And then evaluation, as I mentioned before, whether that's quizzes or homework. Even if it's fully automated, those quizzes are allowing the student to self-evaluate and see where they are in the process. And then there's going to be tracking for progress. Where are you? You're always going to be able to see where you are in the course. And courses are meant to have some level of completion, be able to be completed. Not everybody will complete it. I promise you, if you build a course, not everybody will complete it. But it's meant to be completed. And in a minute, we're going to talk about how that's a mistake people make sometimes when we start talking about combined. So if I'm looking at that, let's go look at a course really quick. So this is a very basic 4-part course I use with my clients when we work on presentation delivery. And it's the 4 pieces of a spotlight presentation. This is for a networking group that I did it for. And here you can see you're going to have an overview of the course, maybe some estimated time, information about the instructor. You can start seeing the formality. You're going to see these are the different lessons, where you are in that progress. We've got the progress bar up here. I can see what I need to go to next. I can click on that. And then I can get to the lesson. The lesson is probably going to have a combination of inputs. So one of the commenters mentioned on how people learn differently. Some people learn better on video and some audio. Some people like to read. So we want to keep multiple touch points in mind, and we want to deliver multiple touch points. And that, by the way, is not just true of an online course. It's more critical with an online course because we're aiming for that mastery. But even on those blog tutorials, we're going to look at how we want to see what best fits this delivery and make sure that we do it in a way that anybody can learn. So in this case, we have a video. I do have transcripts for all of this. We always want transcripts of our video. And here's a hint. If you put things in YouTube and you don't give YouTube the transcript you want, they will put one in. And it may not be as accurate, especially if you would like your name spelled properly. So we do always want a transcript so that we can have that accessibility of our closed captions.
Awesome.
So in this case, you see I've got the steps. That's the other thing. If you're ever going to give someone step by step, don't just do it in the video. It's very distracting to go back and forth, jumping back just when you needed one step. You want to include it written out. And then at the point that you're done, you just can mark it complete and it will show up as completed again. It's a lot more tracking usually than what we would see in more general standard content. As we look at that then, when to use a course versus a tutorial. And this is where part of that learning piece comes in that the person said about how people learn. We first focus on our own why. What is my objective for my students to get out of the course? That's my why. And that's my starting point. What's my objective? And this is that point where, as I mentioned, we're looking at, am I looking at a big objective that covers several things, a la my class, how to build an online course? And that has several things, how to build content, how to brainstorm, how to select the plugin, etc. Or is it maybe an objective that fits better in a tutorial because it's just a single detailed look? And then as I tie into that, I look at their why. Why are they doing this? Are they looking for a course to master a whole set of things? Or, like with my Gravity Forms example, are they looking to quickly get something done? They want that just-in-time learning. I want to learn how to saute because I read it in a recipe and I don't know what that means. If the recipe is
Right.
telling me to do it, I don't know what to do. I don't want a whole class on concepts of cooking. I just want to know how to saute. Okay. So that's their why. That's what they're looking for. And when we can match our why with their why, we're going to have a product that works. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's jump ahead a little bit. Now, this is one that is controversial with people, but it's one, as I said earlier, I hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. Supplemental course content should be in a membership type format, not in the course itself, which is why when I talk about, do I build one or the other or a combined platform, I will say that if you're going to do the course, you don't have to do an online course. Sometimes it's not the right thing. But if you're going to do an online course, you do want a membership area that is not part of the step-by-step course, because that's where your supplemental content goes. That is things like resources to other articles or other tutorials. It may include tutorials you've done. So for example, when I teach my how to build a website class, it's my intro to WordPress class. In that, we go through a set of plugins that what is a plugin and a set that we put in and what is a theme. But then there are additional tutorials on other types of plugins that people might need or want. But we don't try to do all of that in that one set course that is objective by objective by objective, set to end. The place where people really get into trouble here is if they have those ask me anything days or office hours, and then they pop that back into the course, the actual live class, instead of putting it as supplemental content. One of two things happens. Either it's put it in a way that it doesn't show up as anything new. People think they've completed the course, but now there's new stuff in there that they don't even know about. Or if it goes in as a brand new lesson and someone has already completed the course, they think they're done, and all of a sudden it shows incomplete because new things have been added. It's kind of mixing metaphors here. So that we, again, want to do in our membership area. Going back to our school example, when we go to class, we go to the class, we have that set, maybe it's our textbook, and every day we've got our lesson plans, or when I was in college, it was one a week, we had our lesson plans. We went through that. But then the supplemental, this is the library. This is when you go to the library and you get all those extra things you need to look up, to use, to help further your learning, to help with those term papers, etc. So we build the library when we build that supplemental, that extra membership area that is not organized as that step-by-step course.
Got it.
So for those of you that actually went to the page and registered and got the content planning quick start questions, if you didn't, let's make sure that we get that link to everyone. So that's still available if anybody wants it. And I found a few things I'm going to tweak on it. So you guys are going to also be getting an update emailed to you, because as I was working with it, content for me is a changing idea all the time. So here I started having you think about, what content am I building? What content do I build? Is it something with a specific big objectives. So this one really should be like the big objective, sub-objectives, and I want mastery. I'm going to change that first one from taking from this content to mastery. That's going to start leading me towards a formal curriculum, more of an online course. Part of it that ties in with that I will send out with the detailed, this is a quick start. I have a little bit more detailed guide I send out, is sometimes those objectives might actually deal with requirements. For example, I've worked with someone who created CEUs, continuing ed units, which some industries have to have. You have to take so many continuing ed to keep your license, for example, massage licenses in many places. And in that case, if you want to get approved as a CEU provider, there's going to be very specific rules, and you may have to submit your curriculum, et cetera. You're going to have to go the course route. Now, perhaps on the second one, if you're looking at it, is that content more ongoing reference? Would it be better for a single learning objective and to be that tutorial type? Maybe in this case, people don't need to go sequentially through. This is that just-in-time learning, and they can learn what they want when they want. So I'm going to put that more into a membership area where these are private content. Maybe I even do some free blog posts that lead them into that area and give them that additional private content. And then we just a minute ago talked about that why, our why, and their why. As we've done that, we then want to, for each piece of content, start looking at what does it lend itself best to. Demonstrations are great with video. Do we need images? Is it a case where I've got video, but I have those step-by-steps and I need the text? Maybe a survey would help here, or a form with some questions, or do I want a combination? I have a feeling you can tell already from listening to me that for the most part, you're going to want a combination because we want to reach people where they are. So let's just look at those other blog posts for a minute. As I mentioned here on the Gravity Forums, we've got our steps. We've got pictures walking us through it. And then there's also a video showing the process. So he's done a very, very good job there. On the kitchen one, the Julianne, she's given very good steps and good pictures. This is a place I really think it could have benefited by having a video. To actually watch someone chop properly is valuable if you're trying to learn how to cook.
Definitely.
So those are just things for you to consider. Look at other blog posts, look at things and see what you think, oh, wow, this would have been beneficial. And let's make sure that we then put our content in a way that meets those different learning styles, those different ways to help people get the experience that they're looking for. We're going to wrap up in a minute. And I just want to give you an example. I can't log in because it's proprietary, but we had a situation where I worked with a client and it started with, we want an online course. And actually the way it was originally laid out, you would have thought an online course was the best way to go about it. Teaching something, absolute teaching, a step-by-step, almost serial process, until what we realized was it was really just-in-time learning. And instead of taking all of those lessons, now the content still worked great. It was videos, the text, the homework, everything was great. But instead of putting it into a learning management system with quizzes, etc., it was better to lay it out in the way that it was categories and just-in-time learning. If I want this one, I'm going to go to that. If I wanted this type of information today, because this is what's coming up, I go to that. And it worked out much better than where the plan had originally started. So keep that in mind, that how is it going to work for yours? And don't be afraid to change it up. Good news is usually the videos and the lessons, that type of content, it can lend itself to either a tutorial or to an online course as far as the content itself. And then it's about how our learning objectives go. Do we need a formal curriculum? Do we need to pull it together, in that way of a formal course? And I will throw one thing out that I don't have in here, but something I have also used. Say you're going to do that, just in time learning where we've got tutorials and people can pick and choose what they want when they want. There is a cool plugin called WP Complete that actually allows you to treat those blog posts as a course, even though they're not step by step, to where someone can read it and mark it complete. And then when they're looking at it through the blog page, and we had ours laid out on a page using a page builder and then the different categories. So it was really laid out nice, but they could see a little mark through the ones that they had marked that they had already read. So it was easy to go find content that they wanted but hadn't read yet. So that's kind of a nice blend when you don't need a full online course step by step or a learning management system, but you still want to give people the chance to track their content and see where they've been. So in review, and then let's go for any other questions. When I talk about membership websites, we're talking about structure and concept. Today we handled concept. The structure is another piece, but if we get our concepts down initially and lay it out, it's going to be so much easier to pick the structure. The learning management system, it's actually just a structure that allows you to create and track online courses step by step through a formal curriculum through online. And sometimes that's a combination. We didn't go deep into that. I go into it in my How to Build an Online Course. We go in deeper on a combination of live training versus fully automated, where to pick out what you want automated, etc. We talked about online courses versus tutorials and that course formality and structure, the tutorials giving us lots of depth. I think sometimes people think, oh, that's not as deep. It can be very deep, but usually on a single topic and more on that just-in-time learning. And creating that right content for the type. And if you do create that course, if you're going to go ahead and do the course, please consider and look at the benefit of providing those member areas for supplemental course information. It's going to help your users, your students, and it may help you even build your business because it allows you then to easier plug in new courses, pull that all together. And that is a presentation I've given frequently on building the ultimate learning platform, which ties all of that together also with gamification, forum support, that type of thing. That was today's lesson. And I'd love to hear if there's any questions, comments, ideas.
Fantastic. Firstly, Kim, that was extremely insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time to put that together for us. Kim specifically put this together for us, and I am very, very grateful for it. So if you do have any questions, I do see that there are some that are coming in, some comments and questions. Please be sure to send them in now because we'll probably wrap up in the next couple of minutes. And I don't want to lose any of these questions. So cool. Kim, I actually wanted to ask something while just giving a moment for the viewers to send in some questions. I want to talk a little bit or ask you a little bit about your why. Because sometimes people start off with my why is, recurring revenue. How much of that should you have down before actually starting an online course? And I know you spoke about this a little bit. Or what should someone do if they have a sort of a why which is focused on making money? How can they actually take a step back and then develop something a little bit more intentful around their motive. Have you got anything to comment on that?
The why, I would say the why piece on the making money and how to make money, that part should fit into the business use case. That's our beginning, right? We want to do this. This fits into our business because our business is about building a tribe of people who X, and we would like to pull that into an ongoing revenue. That can be part of that business use case. So I'm going to give you one of mine. I am in the process of launching a brand new business where I have been teaching people how to become virtual service providers, virtual assistants, virtual project managers, that type of thing. I am now building a membership and training site for that audience. And there is a business use case for making money on it. I have not monetized it. I launched it January of this year and have not monetized it at all. I have just been doing it. Everything, all my training has been free. All my coaching has been free. But that there will be a use case of the business of there will be some paid courses. There will be a paid membership. There will be a paid option for a matching directory to match assistance with people who need assistance. So that's where I would start with the business use case. But when I go to what's my why when I actually go to teach the course or to build the membership piece, I have to tie into what do I need that person to learn so that they can succeed? What do I need them to learn so that they can succeed? It's still starting to tie into their why at this point, but it's my objective as an instructor, right? So let's go way back to when I taught English. It was what do I need to teach so that my students can write that essay that they have to be able to write? What do I need to present for that? And that's how I start doing it when I'm actually looking at what am I going to teach? And then I go into, this is what I'm going to teach. Is this a course? Or does this go better in that membership / just-in-time tutorial learning? And then stepping outside kind of what we talked about today, but I actually do have a content. I always create a content strategy around the free content that's going to be on the site. Because I think almost all of us have some type of blog post, blog on our website that we give free content. It's the best way for people to see, learn about you, see how you write, see how you present, understand that they want to become part of your tribe. Because face it, none of us are the right tribe for everybody. Everybody who wants to learn how to build an online course, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. There's other people that they say, I go with this person better. And that's the reason why, just because it's been done doesn't mean that you can't make great success at it, because we all resonate with different people. Right?
That's a great point. No, that's a fantastic point. That's great. That's exactly what I was looking for. Kim, I got a couple of questions that have come in. Some of them seem to be a little bit practical in nature. So I'm going to ask you them just to see if you have any experience regarding them. We had a question that came in that reads, how do you handle switching from one LMS to another? Is it advisable to create a subdomain for the old courses with the old LMS, or maybe something else? From what I'm understanding is maybe switching plugins in this case. And have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I have experience with that.
Yes. Fantastic.
I think what you said is they're moving from one LMS to another, or they want to create something different on a different LMS. What I tend to recommend is, yes, do a separate subdomain with the new information, the new course, the new everything. You may or may not, depending on what you want to do. I've seen it done both ways, where some people just leave the old there and that's the way it is. Some people actually go ahead and move the courseware into the new LMS and start from there on, everybody is just on the new one. Any ongoing ask me anythings would be in the new system, but the old one is there just so people didn't lose that tracking aspect. That's the most challenging thing of changing LMSs is if you've got all your quizzes and you've done everything and you want to reference back to it, it's very hard to pull all of that over successfully. I'm sure there's ways to map databases, but it would be quite the task, I would have to say.
Definitely. We got a comment from Grow Income who says, I will contact PMPro to get assistance with the plugin and my LMS system it came with. I had problems with my association. Thanks so much for this information. Thank you for that. Just get in touch with our support team and then we can see how we can help you. Chris over on Facebook says, I know I'm joining this at the end of the broadcast, but we'll go back and watch from the beginning as I have a guitar tutor who may be interested in creating an online curriculum, and PMPro seems to be a good solution. That sounds great, Chris. There is a question that came up here from Nigel. I'm going to bring up your question in a bit. This is actually came after yours. Kim, any examples? Any online examples of what your written content strategies look like, what's your thought process behind this? Do you have any examples that you can share with us?
For my online content strategy is I don't have anywhere written online that I do it. I do teach it when I teach how to build an online course. What we do there is we work on how to get things out of our head and onto the page, because a lot of times, whether it's with a course or these tutorials or even just what to do with our blog posts, a lot of times people it's hard to build content for a lot of people. Some of us who have big mouths like me, we're fine. We can I can find something to talk about all day long. But for a lot of people, it's hard, or they feel like they don't have anything new to say. And so what we do with that, and this isn't about scheduling or anything, it's just about we do a process of the brain dump. And depending on what I'm working with people, sometimes there's a series of questions we ask. And sometimes it's just get in front of a computer, get on a piece of paper, get in front of a microphone. Some people just, they clam up when they're trying to write, but if they push a voice record on their phone and start talking about what they want to do, what do I want to do? What do I want to talk about? What do I have to give? What do I have to teach? And just blab it all out. And whatever you do, don't edit, just blab and blab. And walk. If you'll get up and walk, people, it's so funny. We will express things as we're walking, and walk around your office and talk about it. Don't sit real still. Don't hold yourself in. Let yourself out and just get that stuff out there. And once it's out, then you can start with that true content plan. Now we're going to go through and we're going to look at this fits into a course. This is supplemental. This is a free blog post. What most people do when they work with me, they'll come and they'll think I don't have a course. And when we're done, they've got 4 because there was so much. And unless you're teaching a university level course, you don't want 50 lessons, 50 modules of 10 lessons each type of thing. You want to break that down into 2 or 3 courses, or maybe a couple of courses with some of that fabulous supplemental type of content. So I hope that helps. If there's any specifics that anybody wants, we definitely have links. You can find me. I think I have it here. Do I? Oh, yeah, questions there. You can email me, Kim@Shivler. If you're interested in the how to build an online course, check out howtobuildanonlinecourse.com. If you get my free guide, you will get the updates in January when I launch the next class. That class tends to be a combination of live, online interactive, and office hours, ask me anything type of thing. So
fantastic.
Other questions?
Kim, yes, I have two questions that I want to get in before we wrap this up. Nigel asks, let me bring it up on the screen. So Nigel over on YouTube asks, as we put training and membership material online to a wider global audience, do you know of any plugins that will provide a dynamic payment with local currency options? He elaborates a little bit by saying, how do we best cater for local currency payment options without having to manually update or convert currency rates, etc.?
I wish I had a good answer for that one. You are getting out of my wheelhouse. I do know for people who are doing much more international, and my international, frankly, for my own audience is US, UK, Canada, a few others. I'm not having to deal with nearly as much of that. And so I know for many people, though, you get out of the realm of what Stripe and or PayPal can handle, and it's really difficult. And maybe we can help each other all find a solution for that. But I actually don't have an answer, a good answer there.
What payment gateways do you use personally on your
I use
site?
Stripe. I use Stripe and PayPal. And I do actually still have some local business, which are, well, that's recent, which is kind of funny. So but Stripe and PayPal, and I do, if I'm going to do the automated, so repeat billing, I try to do with Stripe. I try to get people to do Stripe because PayPal with repeat billing it's a nightmare in the sense of it's not actually managed through your site. It's managed through a PayPal subscription. So they sign up with your site on a subscription basis, recurring payment, but technically that is being managed by a PayPal subscription. So and I had a client with us and it was just really, we had trouble because they had a situation where people would want to move from one tier to a next, right? Very common in membership websites where we'll have 2 or 3 tiers. And people will a lot of times start at the bottom tier, see if they like it before they move up. And there was no way if they had signed up with PayPal to just click within the site and upgrade. They had to cancel it because it canceled the PayPal subscription, start fresh. And they found that they had more churn when that happened. Churn is when people leave your recurring billing. So that's the way I manage it. But I also know that for a lot of people, depending on where they are internationally, that is not going to necessarily be a solution.
I find it kind of humorous that you said that this was like leaving your area of expertise, and you gave a pretty thorough answer on that topic. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, Nigel, as Kim said, it sort of depends on where you're at in the world. If you can get hold of Stripe and a PayPal combination, if you're using PMPro, we do allow you to do that. You cast a very wide net to many people, but usually your payment gateway should be able to convert the currencies automatically into your local currency. It just really depends where you are and what you're working with. Get in touch with us over on the contact form on our site, and we can try and help you figure out a solution there. Kim, there is one last question, and I think it's a pretty good one, and I feel like it's a good one to finish off with. So Grow Income from YouTube asks, when teaching how to make money online or do marketing, do you think quizzes are better rather than an essay of what you've learned? So I'm almost imagining at the end of the course, once you've gone through the course, is it better to quiz the people, or is it better to ask for them to do a bit of a write-up?
I would probably, in that case, do a little bit of each. And the reason is that when you're talking about marketing in particular, there's so much kind of planning and strategy involved that I might do something like a quiz where I have some multiple choice, some true, false, and if you can do it, maybe some fill in the blank and short answer. But then also possibly, for example, and I'm not sure if this is the case, but if I was going to teach someone some marketing and they needed to put together, say, a social media strategy, I'd like to see at least part of what they had built out there to see if they were going in the right direction for the type of strategy I would be teaching them to implement.
Great, fantastic. Kim, Nigel actually got back to us and he said that your answer was really helpful. This was a really helpful insight. So thank you. That's from Nigel over there. Cool. So that is all of the questions that have come through. I hope you all have enjoyed this webinar episode. I sure have, and my brain is ticking with all the sorts of online courses that I could possibly, start. Kim, I'm going to bring up. Should I bring up your slide with how people can get in touch with you? I know that you just closed that.
I think I just crashed my stream, my sharing.
Okay, no worries. Do you want to just give us like a bit of a shout out on where we can find you? Just, last minute links that you might want to drop to us.
Absolutely. Really, the best ways to find me are kim@kimshivler.com if you want to email me. I am at Kim Shivler at Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/Kim Shivler. I am Kim Shivler. There is another K Shivler. She is Kate, but I am Kim Shivler anywhere you look. And if it's specific to building online courses, check out howtobuildanonlinecourse.com. Connect with me there. I'm a little behind on my blogging. I usually blog once a month, but I haven't blogged since August because we've just moved and the last couple months have been getting ready to move. But I'll be coming back with that and more free tutorials. And then, of course, if you're interested in the course, get on that list and you'll hear more about it.
Great stuff. Thank you, Kim, so much. Folks, thank you for making it all the way to the end of the webinar. I see we've got a great viewing audience all the way right at the end. We've got some great comments, and we are planning on having Kim Shivler back on the webinar probably early next year. So definitely sign up for our newsletter on our site and keep in touch with that. Kim, have you got anything else that you want to say or any?
I think the only last thing was, if you didn't get that quick start guide, if you'll go to howtobuildanonlinecourse.com and click on the slide for our live stream, it'll take you to where you can grab that. And if you're on that list, then is when over the next probably 3 days, you will receive the more in-depth guide from me. That's the quick start. You'll receive a more in-depth guide.
Perfect. Great. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Kim, thank you so much for spending this time with me and going through this. It was incredibly insightful. And if you are watching still, be sure to tune in tomorrow at the exact same time, as I will have Ellie Nimmons from WP Buffs on with me. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about building a community for your membership site. Kim, thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you, Travis.